2 of section 1 is looking at a multiplying and dividing functions. So here, multiplying is just saying f times g of x is just saying I'm going to take f of x, which is 4x squared minus 2x plus 3, and I'm going to multiply that by g of x. And g of x is negative x plus 5. So I'm going to multiply the two functions together. So that's putting parentheses right next to parentheses. And so I have a 3 by 2, so I should get 6 terms, right? So I can multiply 4x times negative x, and I get a negative 4x cubed. I get 4x squared times 5, and that is a positive 20x squared. Then I'm going to take this negative 2x and times it by negative x, and I get a positive 2x squared. Take negative 2x and times it by positive 5, and I get negative 10x. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this 3 and multiply it by negative x, and I get a negative 3x. I'm going to take 3 times 5, which I get 15. Then I want to make sure I did my math correctly and combine like terms. So I got a 20x squared and a 2x squared, so that would be a 22x squared. I have a negative 10x and a negative 3x, so I have a negative 13x. I have a positive 15 at the end, my constant, and then my lead coefficient right here is negative 4, so I have a negative 4x cubed, and that's a positive 22, so I'm going to put a plus sign in between there. And that would be multiplying f times g of x. Alright, so that is multiplication, and then we have division, of course, and again, like I said from the first video, if g was on top, then I would put g on top, but since f is on top, that means I'm going to put f of x on top. And f of x is a negative 4x cubed. Oh, negative 4x squared, sorry. No, positive, geez. There we go, 4x squared minus 2x plus 3. And then g of x is on bottom. So I'm going to divide by g of x, which is a negative 5 plus 5. So the big thing here on this one is I can't let my denominator be 0. So I figure out what I can't plug in, my domain, right? So my domain is what I can plug in for x that'll get an answer out. Maybe that's spelled wrong, don't care. So I set my denominator equal to 0, so negative x plus 5 equals 0. Subtract 5, so I get negative x equals negative 5, so that means x equals positive 5, right? And multiply both sides by negative, and then I would get a positive 5. So that means I cannot plug in 5 because minus 5 plus 5 would be 0, and I can't divide by 0. So x cannot equal 5. So x can be everything else. So it can go from negative infinity up until 5, but it can't be 5, and then it can be after 5, it can be greater than 5. That's why it's a parenthesis, because it can't be 5, to infinity, right? So it's either written like that, or it's written in interval notation. Okay, and then we could actually synthetically divide this, right? I just go ahead and this time for x, I want to plug in 5, right? Because 5 is what makes it 0. Because this negative out here, that's why I'm not going to take the opposite of 5, because this negative right here, so my x equals actually 5, and this is a degree of 1. So I can do synthetic division. So 4, negative 2, and 3, put a 0 right here, put a 1. We got 5, we got negative or positive 3, we got 15, and we got 18. So remember, this is my remainder. So when I write I start with an x squared, so this means this is just an x, right? So we have x plus 3. So this answer to this division problem of f of g of x is equal to x plus 3 plus the remainder, 18, over what I divided by, a negative x plus 5. And where x cannot be 5. There we go. So I think all